We are asking actually the question towards the customer, and based on the voice response of the customer, we will be able to track some keywords, and based on those keywords, we will be able to route the user to the right agent based on their skills or languages or what they're able to do. And that's IVA, so based on speech.
Welcome to Always On CXCX, the show for contact center and IT leaders. Between helping support your contact center reps, your customers, and the tech that makes the contact center function, you're relied upon quite a lot. You can't afford for your customer experience, employee experience, or stability of the contact center to falter. If you're ready to find the next strategy to keep your customer and employee experience always on, let's get into this episode.
Welcome to a new series of Always On CXEX. I'm Jon Zoltie, and if your contact center is still feeling like it's stuck in 2019, these episodes in this series are specifically for you. We're diving into conversational AI and what it takes to go from press 1, press 2 to conversational AI. We'll break down some industry jargon, find out what drives enterprises to abandon keypad navigation, and the good things that come from starting on this modernization journey. We'll also address some of the perfectionism trap that we see time and time again, and our guests will also share some practical tips on how to start small and win big. And on that point of our guest, joining me today is Levent Gunsuren, Product Delivery Manager at AudioCodes. Levent, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a quick bit about your experience?
Hi, John. Thanks for having me here. I'm Levent Gunsuren, and I've been working with Microsoft ecosystems for over 10 years with a strong focus on contact center solutions. Through my career, I've worked with a wide range of enterprises, first as a consultant, then on the customer side itself, where I was responsible of deploying, optimizing communications platforms. Now at AudioCodes, I'm the product delivery manager, and I'm leading projects globally and working together with our operations.
Perfect. Thank you very much and welcome. So I think to kick it off, before we dive into the really interesting stuff, we've heard a lot of terms in terms of large language models, LLMs and acronyms, IVR, IVA, conversational AI, and so on. I think just first of all, quickly, just decode it for us, Levent.
That's a great question. When I was working on the, let's say on the customer side, not on the consultant side, even I was not able to follow all those terms. So that's a really good question.
And so if we start with IVR, I suppose, as the first one, what is IVR?
IVR is actually the thing that everybody knows. IVR is press 1 for sales, press 2 for support. I think everybody knows type and numbers or in the system is recognizing those inputs, and based on those inputs, actually hard-coded inputs, they can route you to the right agent or customer center.
Yeah, the traditional DTMF as it's known.
Yes.
And then we sometimes, and we hear people probably use them interchangeably in terms of IVA and IVR, but what is different with IVA? How does that differ from IVR?
The biggest difference is with IVR, we were asking the users to press a button. The difference between IVR and IVA is with IVA, we are asking actually the question towards the customer. And based on the voice response of the customer, we will be able to track some keywords. And based on those keywords, we will be able to route the user to the right agent based on their skills or languages or what they're able to do. And that's IVA, so based on speech.
Perfect. And then the next level on from that, I suppose, is the term that people use in terms of conversational AI. Where does that fit into those sort of two, as you've already mentioned?
With conversational AI, we are actually getting those IVA and getting those to the, let's say, the next level. We ask the customer a question. Based on the response, we can have a look and check if we already have, let's say, the right place to route the user. If you don't have it yet, we can start asking questions to the end user itself. So it's responding towards the question the customer has, and based on the response back, we will be able to route the customer to the right agent.
Perfect. So hopefully that's clear for everyone. So moving on from the background info, we've seen enterprises move on from that traditional old DTMF that you've mentioned, press 1, press 2, and so on. What have you found has finally pushed them into actually making that switch?
If I look, I think first, customer frustration and expectations. People today are used to use voice bots, chat bots, where they almost get directly information. And when they get stuck in a long menu or have to repeat their information, it hurts the satisfaction and even the brand loyalty.
Well, we've probably all been there, I suppose, that you get stuck in that phone IVR tree almost with the press 1, press 2, and then suddenly you've got another 9 options and then another 6 options, another 5 options. Obviously, it creates a bit of an issue from a customer experience point of view, but is it just about the customer experience in that example as well?
There are two things. When you have IVR, you have let's say a hard-coded menu structure. And so your reports on that hard-coded menu structure are just based on they clicked on that, they clicked on that. That's what we had on IVR. When we see the transition, we see that traditional IVRs are very hard to maintain because you don't have proper reporting. You don't see any, let's say, pain points because you don't know.
Sure.
And if we see how IVA is working on that, is that based on the response or the questions of the customer, we are getting more information. And with those more information, we can go align the journey during the deployment, make changes based on what the customers actually want.
Sure. Well, no, that makes sense. So the enterprises that feel that pain and have had that bad experience for their customers, they want to make that move to conversational AI and IVA, for example. What have you found is a common, either a mistake or a misstep that you've seen in those early phases of that AI adoption and transformation?
That's a good one. When I look to my journey, when I started as a consultant, I was working for a big compressor company. We started just migrating to SIP. That was actually the first step. When we migrate to SIP, you were able to see more things. And what we actually did on the contact center side was we just did 101. That means they have IVRs or they had just a queue and we moved them over to the new system with IVR, where we already had a little bit of more, let's say, reporting. So what we saw there was we did 101 copy, and based on that 101 copy, and with the new system on the IVR, we were able to see, as an example, that let's say 60% of the calls were missed. So the CEO was very furious. When we worked on that, we were able to start enhancing the flows. First, we had the IVRs, and afterwards, we started working on the IVAs. And when we started working on the IVAs, we were able to see the pain points where support was needed, where even internal enhancements were needed. And then we were able to get that 60% missed calls, or let's say we call it abandoned calls, and we were able to reduce them almost to 10%.
Just to go back, I think there's a really key point that you covered, and I think I know the answer because it's an issue and I get on my soapbox about it. But you mentioned about taking that customer on sort of a one-to-one and replacing what they had with just a like for like. I think that tends to be a bit of a problem in a lot of deployments, but it would just be good to find out your view on why you think that might be a problem in doing that one-to-one kind of replication.
Most of the time, when they migrate to a new system or newer system, there is, as I said previously, more analytics, more reporting. So they were unable to see, or because it was already there for, I always call it ages, they was like, it was working fine, so don't touch it because it's working. And when you migrate, you always need to see, let's say, the opportunities of a new system. You always get curious about new details, about reporting. And so there is no problem to do it one-on-one, but try to see the opportunity to make the experience for the customer better, but also for the agent, because the technology is not stopping on deployments.
Well, that's why I say it's kind of a soapbox of mine. And many customers say, let's just replicate what we had before. To me, yes, it might have worked, but that doesn't mean that there's not necessarily a better way to do it. And when you're going to implement a new system, what better time is there to actually implement something new and look at how do we do it and can we do it better, rather than just replacing it like for like. But just going back to that point, have you got any examples for that, what that looks like from a caller and the issue that's created, that maybe some of the viewers will probably, it would resonate with because they've been in the same position?
I think almost everybody had it. When you're working, you're calling a hotline or let's say customer support place, and you're listening to the options you get, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. And then at the end, you don't hear the necessary options. So you just press a button, wait until you get an agent. And then the first thing you said to the agent, I don't know if I'm right, but I have a problem. This is my problem. And then they say, oh yeah, I cannot help you with that, but let me check if I can forward you to the right department, or this is the number you need to dial. So there are 2 points. One point is on reporting base, the customer was maybe answered on a period of time within the SLA you give for yourself. And the second thing is maybe the customer is helped on time, but the customer satisfaction was not good because you don't know why he was calling. The agent was knowing why he was calling, but at the end, he was not on that place. So he need to dial again or wait on the next queue and wait on everything. So the customer satisfaction is very low on that because you don't know what's inside.
And agent satisfaction as well, that knock-on effect of agents receiving that call from Levent every 5 minutes saying, I'm sorry, I've come through to the wrong department, can you put me through? Can't be a great agent experience either. So you mentioned we can't really, although we can, it's not necessarily the best idea just to copy an IVR flow from the old system on a one-to-one. So where do you think people should get started? And when we're looking at that strategy to move to a new conversational AI and an IVR system, is that typically part of a wider strategy of AI adoption or transformation for those customers? Are they doing it as a standalone, let's just move from press 1 and press 2? Or is there a bigger plan for a lot of those customers and people you've dealt with and businesses from where you've come from?
Yeah, I always say start simple and so easy as it possible. Copy 101 is okay, and you can start having your IVR still there, but maybe you can start with open question. Can you describe your problem, or how can we help you? Or press 1 for this, press 2. It's possible to combine it. That's not an issue. But start step by step. If you start with the first step by combining the IVR with the IVA, then you already get some more information. Why are the people calling us? If you know that information, you can let's say get time in it and have a look if you can expand your IVA, asking the right question to the customer so you get the right answer. And when you get the right answer, then you can start improving your flow and maybe going to more integrate with maybe CRM, because you know what they're asking for, you have the information of the customer, and then you have step 1, IVR and IVA. You move to the IVA, sorry, and then you move to an integration. AI is not there yet, but every time a system is handling those kind of things, for me, it's still a little bit of AI because it's not human interaction. It is happy getting the information.
Yeah, of course. I think sometimes we're guilty of it when we work in the industry of making it sound really easy to move, whether it's one-to-one or redesigning it and building conversational AI and IVA's example, for example. But we sometimes make it out to be too easy, maybe. Why do you think, if we're making it out to be too easy, why do you think some companies hesitate to move to IVA AI in that initial step? Why do you think it takes them a little while to take that plunge?
First is they know that the original system was working for a long time, but they didn't have the insights, but it was working. They were getting the calls, it was reliable. But the most thing regarding IVR, or maybe more to the conversational AI, is fear, and especially fear of the unexpected behavior of the AI bot, or losing control about the system. What it's going to ask, what is going to happen to the customers. because the agents were able to know or ask when there was an issue. That's the most fair. But with the right design and testing, we are able to make it more intuitive and customer friendly and helping the customer and the agent, because nobody likes to do the repetitive task or having a call and say, oh, okay, then I need to forward to another department. So fear of the unexpected, but with the right design and the right testing, we can optimize that.
Yeah, I think, and it's probably for another episode, I'm sure, at some point, in terms of people relying on agentic AI and large language models, and that fear of, if I don't have control, could it say something ridiculously stupid and really incorrect to a customer? So I think, yes, another show in its own merit, I think, around some of those AI pieces. But I do think it's a very common fear of, can I control it? I think you're right to call those out. So when people have taken the plunge and actually moved to the IVA, what do we see, or what have you seen happening, and what kind of insights are we getting? I know you touched on earlier in terms of reporting, but it'd be quite good just to delve into that a little bit deeper with what type of insights, what type of reports, and what they're doing with those reports that's quite powerful.
Yeah, that's actually where the things get interesting. That's also the reason why I touched the reporting and analytics, etc. In the past, voice engineer was focused on voice, but yeah, voice is growing and we are doing more AI and more analytics because we are gathering those data. And with that data, we can do a lot of things. The most important thing is when you have a conversational AI as example, the people can just talk naturally. The AI bot will be able to understand what they are saying, but it can also check how they are using their language, if they are frustrated, whatever it was. So it is actually unlocking a lot of insights they never had before. And with those insights, they will be able to enhance all those hotlines.
Just as a quick example, when you say that the insights, talk me through like an idea of an IVR or IVA, sorry, that gives those sort of insights. What would be the example?
With the IVR, you were able to see they pressed 20 times on one, so that was sales. On IVA, let's say the default IVA, you were able to, because we have, we say it voice to text. So that means that we are translating the voice to text, and we were able to see, let's say, the whole question of the customer. And based on the whole question of the customer, we were able to see the keywords. So based on the keywords, we're able to route. And with conversational AI, you can see a whole conversation. What was the customer journey, what they asked before, what they get, what kind of questions they get from the bot, because they are not predefined, but based on what we trained the bot for. And so you get a lot of information.
And what do we do with that information? What do the customers do with that kind of data and that kind of information?
The customers that has that information, so what we see that let's say the legacy customers and the new customers, they already did a digital transformation. They are already busy making it even smarter, and not meaning smarter to get rid of, let's say, agents, but smarter to route the people towards the right agent as soon as possible, with a lot of information towards the agent itself, because the agent doesn't need to ask those questions again. They are getting those information already in their screen. The customer asked this question, we ask that question, and based on that question, we need to route to you. So they know where they're talking about. If we had, let's say, a question regarding their account number as example, or if we have a lookup with the numbers, we were able to show them even who was calling already, with what kind of question, maybe already look up based on the question. So an example is, if I call a hotline and say, I'm calling because I've received my invoice twice, but my number was already recognized by the system and it was based on invoicing, the agents get the overview of my invoices. And when the overview of my invoices, he can already say, hi, John, I see that you're calling regarding your invoices. I have the overview here. I'm already working on it.
No, I think that customer experience is massive. It sounds like it's a minor difference in terms of the information, but a really big impact when it comes to the customer experience, rather than from, can you give me your name, your ID number, why you're calling again, rather than, hi, John, I can see you're calling about your bill. I'm just having a look at that for you. Is that what I can help with? That to me sounds like a much better experience from my point of view as a customer. So the reporting, really, really powerful. You can make a lot of business decisions based on that, whether it's routing decisions. Do we change the IVA? Do we change the call queues? Do we change the skills because of the information that we've learned? To some degree, when we go into a lot of that detail, I imagine some customers worry about, do I need to get everything set up before launch? Do I need to worry about all of these things before I even start? So it'd be good to know from your experience from both sides, the customer side and from the AudioCodes side and your consultant side. Do customers have to have it all figured out from day one? Do we need a really structured plan to get going? Or is it best just to dive in and dip toe in the water straight away?
Definitely not. You always have a goal, because if you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going, but you have the goal, and the goal is to improve customer experience.
Sure.
So we have IVR, we put IVA in front of it together with IVR, because the customers they are used to use the IVR, but they can now use IVA. Then we have the first more information than we had before. Then we look to the reporting and analytics, what kind of questions they have. Okay, based on that, if we have an example, a lot of customers asking to reset their password, you can have, let's say, some safety checks on it, and you can starting automate. So we first started with transforming the IVR to IVA. Then based on the information we get, the data that we had, we can do some automation, and then going to the next step by step. Doing CRM integration, next step. Okay, CRM integration is done. The customers are happy. The agent is happy because he doesn't need to do the search. And then, okay, we have more and more information, because how many times we are looking for invoices, or how many times we are doing password resets. Then we can enhance our IVA, asking those right questions. And then we can start working on the conversational AI, because the conversational AI can do more things. They can understand what kind of questions there are, what kind of opportunities or automations do I have, or what kind of departments do I have. And then it can, let's say, make the journey of the customer on a more natural way, because in the past, the voices of the systems were very robotic. But at this time, you can almost not even hear the difference between a, let's say, conversational AI or a real human interaction. But there is always a safe plan. And the safe plan is, if a customer says, I want to talk to an agent or to a human, it is automatically understanding that this customer doesn't want to have the journey of the AI. So let's move it to the customer.
And you touched on it earlier. I don't want to steal the thunder of any further series that we're going to do in terms of AI, but you touched about CRM, for example. So just without giving too much detail, as I mentioned, but can the system do more than just routing in that respect then? When you mentioned about CRMs, could you just expand on what you mean by just a little bit more than just routing?
CRM is the heart of the company. CRM is the heart of the company, because everything that is happening about the customer is located in the CRM. The customer asked for password reset. The customer called for invoice. That means that an agent needs to put a lot of detail. But with AI, there are possibilities to help them on the summarization. So we can have summarize of the call after the call is ended. But as you said, I cannot say that much, as you have a whole episode of it.
Yeah, well, I think linking into AI summaries is probably a perfect place to end on, I suppose. It's actually a bit easier to implement, I think, than people expect. But as you rightly point out, things like that are probably for another episode. So I think on that perfect note, I'd like to thank you, Levent. That's it for this episode of Always On CX EX. Thank you very much for giving your insight and your experience. Next up, we're sharing the next step in the AI journey for contact centers, showing you how to start small and to win big. So if you're looking to bring conversational AI to your Microsoft Teams contact center, please reach out on the Voca CIC website. Hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, whatever it is that the cool kids do nowadays, and catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Always On CXCX. If you learned one thing from this episode, we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're using Microsoft Teams and are looking to integrate a contact center, consider trying Voca for free for 30 days. Voca is built on Microsoft Azure, meaning your customer interactions start, stay, and end with the same reliability and 5.9 uptime as Microsoft Teams. Just Google AudioCodes Voca or find the link in the show notes. Thank you again for tuning into this episode of Always On CXCX, and we'll see you in the next one.